And if anyone asked us of such, we would have to say so.
Gotta tell me if you're a cop, man. Seems very pleased.
Excuse me.
He says that though we've only just met, I believe that you've given me no reason to distrust you. And I look
We do our best to be trusted.
I look forward to long and fruitful endeavors. He stands up and he tells you, please, present yourselves this evening for dinner.
Certainly.
And then he dismisses you, unless there's anything else you would like to discuss with him.
I think we're good for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Then some of you spend the rest of the day looking for Florian's family fruitlessly.
Yep.
And what else is happening today, if anything?
I think I'm going to spend it trying to investigate what's behind that door.
Okay. So before you even start in on that, Tom Wolf tells you that he's tried dispel magic type things, and there is a magical lock on it, but there's a mechanical component of the nature that when the magic is dispelled, if you don't open the mechanical portion of the lock in time, the magic is replenished through some device on the other side of the door.
All right.
So there's a key. He shows you where a key could be put in place. It's not a standard keyhole. It's like a puzzle lock kind of situation. If you have the actual key, you can put it in and open the door. Otherwise, you have to fiddle around with the mechanics, the actual mechanics of it. Or you could use force, he suggests. He says he hasn't tried blowing the door open or tunneling down through the roof. These kinds of things may also work. But he tells you that the ceiling here and the walls of the rooms upstairs on the third floor have a sheet of lead running through them to block certain forms of divination. These are things he's also tried.
Okay. The first thing I would like to test is I would like to cast one of the spells that I picked up back in Dunfoss, Augury.
Okay.
I'd like to cast the spell and ask it for an omen about the results of taking a dimension door through the door.
Get results of a specific course of action you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. They cast this spell a lot, my Saturday group, when we ran Tomb of Horrors. This spell got a lot of use.
A lot of woe,
huh? Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Damn it.
The augur comes back as Wheel and Woe.
Okay, good to know.
What's everybody else doing?
I'm investigating Florian's family and not finding them.
Okay.
Or master. Family and master.
Apparently
Basically-
there's this really cool blue worm I should be finding. Checking out at the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'll go with you with that.
Okay. It's not at the church itself. Let me get the table back out here. Oops. There is a very large cathedral to Ostrom here. Much more lavish than the one in Dunfoss. Because this is where the high priest of Ostrom sits. So you guys are very familiar with the iconography of the cathedral. But across the grounds from the cathedral, there's a large courtyard between the two. But there is the original inn of the Blue Wormling, which still stands, and that's where this dragon is on display. The inn itself is not nearly as grand as the tap house that you were in yesterday. It's rather rustic by comparison, actually. You can actually tell not only that this was once built in the middle of the wilderness, but also that it's had many, many years of maintenance and renovation, where keeping that look was part of the goal. And sure enough, inside the main tap room, there is a young dragon's head mounted on the wall.
And this place is still open?
Technically, nowadays, it's operated by the cathedral. But yeah, it's still open for business. By the time you guys arrive, they'll be serving a midday meal, probably.
Huh.
Interesting.
The head of this dragon is not as big or monstrous as the black dragon you guys met.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, all adventurers were like scrubs at some point, I guess.
I thought you weren't adventurers.
Yeah, no, we're investigators, but their adventurers do get to become well renowned, and I bet they were all scrubs at some point, right?
So, in your opinion, only scrubs would take down a dragon of this size? How many dragons has Lucius slain?
None.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not an adventurer.
That's true. So you guys, you're investigators, and you investigated the original Blue Wormling Tavern, and it's still here. They no longer provide the same service as like a Crossroads Inn. So, like, you couldn't go here and rent out rooms, but they do still serve meals and drinks.
Is there like any historical, like, you know, placards or whatnot? This is where Eldov, you know, pooped. This was Eldov's chamber pot room. Blah blah.
No,
blah.
nothing like that. But there are people nearby that know the story of how the Blue Worm was slain, and it's currently maintained by the cathedral. A priest has to come down every morning to gentle repose the thing.
Wait.
Oh,
Has to gentle repose the thing.
Mm-hmm.
the head.
Wow. Every day since then, huh?
You guys,
not.
You guys gentle repose that thing for months when you journeyed around on this ship.
Oh yeah, no. Matt the player knows that.
Yeah,
They didn't bother to get it taxidermied?
you guys never did.
They never bothered to get permanent gentle repose?
So
There
what
was-
happens if the priest doesn't come down and gentle repose the thing?
Then it'll start to rot. There was a time where you guys established this inn where you're like, yeah, we're just going to fast forward a year. And you guys are like, well, we're going to be here anyway, establishing this teleportation circle. We might as well just put it on the wall.
Again, Matt the player knows that.
So it's just tradition at this point. Like, nobody wants to take it down and taxidermy it now. That would be crass.
I like to think that because they were all so high level, they assume there's some reason that they don't know that this has to be done. And if they don't do it, the ancient blue dragon will come after them or something.
Little do they know, the founders were just jackasses. Didn't want to do
Yeah,
anything
I mean-
properly. Like, one of them got stuck in his own house, and another one was a brain in a jar. Got real weird towards the end.
That sounds ridiculous. You made that one up.
Another one got mazed by the Lady of Pain.
Now you're just saying words.
Right.
Yeah, those are just words.
Okay. So that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go see this cathedral now.
Okay. And the experience is much like visiting any of the temples in the temple district of Dunfoss. The difference is, in Dunfoss, Osprey is one of the major deities there, but there's an entire temple district. It's impossible to say one deity is like the patron deity of Dunfoss. Whereas here, this is the only major temple established. This is Osprey is revered all over the land in many different surrounding kingdoms, and even far out to sea. This is the central site of her seat in this world. And so there's a lot of just majesty on display. Great towering statues of Osprey herself and of various iconography. But other than just the grandiose nature of it, it's more or less just the same experience as going to any temple in Dunfoss. Are you trying to get something specific done here?
So, if I recall correctly, this is where that staff was stolen, correct?
Yeah.
Of
Yes.
the high priest.
The high priest of Osprey, who was one of the founders, had a staff that could control weather.
Right.
And it was stolen years and years and years ago, and there's no trace of what happened to it.
Is there like an empty like display case showing like this is where the staff should be? And
No.
then like notes.
No.
Interesting.
To get any information of it, you'd have to speak to the acolytes here, and they only know the story as a legend now because this happened very
Okay.
long ago. But they don't have like a monument to this is where we got robbed.
Well, I mean, considering if it's its historic nature, it's not that absurd to think about that.
How much looking into it is Connor doing? Like, are you just pulling an acolyte aside and picking their ear, or do you want to try to like, dig into what might have happened to it?
Yeah, Connor's kind of curious.
Okay.
Connor pulls an acolyte to decide.
As an investigator.
Mm-hmm.
Connor's like, have you guys considered the fact it was stolen by the Fae?
Dun 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 dun.
Connor's gonna work himself into a shoot on this investigator thing.
I like to think Connor rolls up with his sketch pads like, was this the guy? And it's just like the Lucky Charms guy. Connor, there is some disputes in the temple itself. It's a debated notion of whether this particular staff was an artifact of Osprey or whether it was just a personal possession of the high priest. There is some dispute back and forth because nobody seems to know the actual origins of this staff. They know that the high priest in question served aboard sailing vessels for much of his early life. They know that he's the only one of the founders who, after his adventuring career was over, didn't slip into these other worlds and vanish. He actually stayed here and stayed on as high priest. And he frequently used the staff in like religious rituals and rites and things. But there is some debate over whether this is actually a religious artifact or not. The end result is still the same, because even if it wasn't, somebody still robbed the high priest. There's nobody that is of the opinion that the staff does not exist.
Interesting.
That seems to be pretty well agreed upon. There is a grand statue of the high priest Eric himself, though, as well as lesser statues of the 2 or 3 people who have had the position since.
Are they aware that the former high priest was also not trained in religion, like a dope?
Yeah, wait till you see the Temple of Osprey and Sigil.
Saying Eric the cleric didn't know religion gets you shot.
All right. Well, this is what we need to know. It's an interesting story, but it's not going to lead us anywhere. So,
Okay.
All right. In that case, well, pulling aside the acolytes too, like he's actually like, hey, are you the one that does the gentle repose thing on the Wyrm next door?
Gentle Repose is a cantrip, right? Or is it a first
I
level
think it's like
spell?
a second level spell.
I think
it's like-
no. I think general reposes.
Because the answer to
I
that
think
question
Spare
is,
the Dying is a cantrip. I think General Repose is a first level spell.
it's a second
Second level spell.
actually.
No, yeah, you were right.
Second, jeez.
McDohl. But it lasts 10 days.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
So it's just a service that one of the priests here has to provide every, like once a week or so, has to go out and re-up it.
Oh, okay.
And there are probably a hierarchy of like some dozen or so such priests who could do this task. Once a year, there's a great feast day where the high priest himself will go down and perform this task in recognition of the time of year where the original tavern was founded, and then a second time when ground was broken on the cathedral when Eric was named high priest. So there are 2 feast days in the year where the high priest himself does this task.
Regrettable we're not here for it then.
Nope.
All right. This has been fun.
Mhm.
But
No, Lucius is very keen to pick these guys' brains on whatever theories they might have had about the fate of this staff.
Nobody has any
Like
idea.
he,
So, for the benefit of anybody watching the archive, what actually happened is one of the founders, one of our players, was a really high-level thief, and in our second campaign, they went to the High Temple and asked Eric himself if they could borrow the staff, and he said no. And then the thief Zook just stole it and gave it to them.
I feel like we just asked him for help and he said no.
Eric wanted nothing. I forget exactly what your goal was at that point, but Eric wanted nothing to do with any of it.
It was.
I think also Riot had pissed him off, but Riot pisses everybody off. So.
Riot was trying to make an appeal as like being a fellow priest of Osprey, and Eric said she wasn't one. Was my recollection.
That sounds about right.
So Zook sold the staff, and the staff was given to Liberation, who's the monk in that campaign, and Liberation used it for the rest of the campaign.
It was great because everyone was just like, well, what are we going to do with this now? So we're just like, Liberation? Do you
We
want
hit
it?
people with it.
Liberation. I mean, Factal Reese took a staff of the Magi and just hits people with it.
Staff of the Reese uses the staff of the Magi as a quarterstaff, yeah. So there's kind of a tradition where Sigillian monks just take incredibly powerful staves and just use them
No,
to whack
Windy
folks.
did that too.
That's
so
true.
It's just a monk thing.
It's just a monk thing in general.
It's a monk thing.
So Eric's was a staff of thunder. Wendy's was I can't
Staff of the
recall.
Magi.
Yes, it was also
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a staff of the Magi.
Was it a staff of the Magi?
It
Yeah,
was a
it
stuff.
was.
Oh, but you couldn't use most of the spells on it for some reason.
No, I just hit people with it.
Yeah. Anyway, these are all past campaigns. We're just regaling old war stories.
Reminiscing here.
But as far as the people of Blue Wyrm know, the staff just vanished into thin air and was never seen again.
Okay.
I mean, you're going to call me paranoid. But just a simple trick like that?
Does Connor think it was fairies?
He doesn't not think it was fairies.
Was it fairies? Zook was hanging out in the Feywild last I heard.
That's true. Zook did spirit it away into the Feywild.
Oh, don't tell Connor that.
Okay, so what's next? What else is happening today, if anything?
I mean, I'm gonna go down the expert diviner list. I'm gonna bring it up the rungs.
And do what?
Next one is attempting to do a Sorry, one second. Let me get the spell name for my character sheet here. Attempting to do a clairvoyance on the other side of the door. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to disarm it from that side, because apparently it's the other side that sets up the magic again.
Okay, bear with me 1 second.
I have another idea of something you could try when you get there, when you exhaust your options, if you don't find a better solution.
Yeah,
Are you casting the spell with sight or hearing?
I'm casting it with sight.
Okay. And you're placing on the other side of the door?
Uh-huh.
You cast it with sight, you see just pitch blackness on the other side. Other than that, though, it feels like the spell has worked, and you're concentrating on it. You're keeping the magic alive.
Try swapping over.
You just hear silence.
If I shout, do I still just hear silence?
Yes.
Alright, so there's some sort of dampening effect. Well, that brought back my my second level slot. Let's bring back that slot by casting Divination.
To what effect? What's the goal?
I'm going to ask how I can open up the door without setting off the traps.
This isn't a wizard spell, for whatever reason, according to my app.
It's one of the ones that was added by Tasha's, so you have to hit a button in order
No.
to get it to treat it as one.
I think that was their intention, was let's not give diviner wizards the divination spell. That wouldn't make any sense.
Right. It's funny because D&D Beyond even makes it have a little plus sign next to it. It's like, oh, you're only getting this because it's an optional feat. You got to remember.
So, okay, my read of this spell, like, obviously you're not imploring anything of a god, but you do still have to ask something or somebody. So when Seeker casts this spell, who is he asking? Like, where is he trying to pull this knowledge from?
Well, I'm trying to get past a magical trap in order to save somebody's life. So I think I should be knocking around my god's neck of the woods.
Now,
Let's go to...
or do you always ask Garl Glittergold, or are you just doing it on this occasion?
I think whenever it's for, like, a clear good goal that still involves trickery, which is, like, let's say 90% of the time.
Okay.
I would go to him.
And what do you ask?
I ask him how I can open up this door without setting off the trap.
And Garl Glittergold's response, is there a chance of failure on this spell?
Only if I cast it 2 or more times before my next long rest.
Oh, you start getting just random BS. Okay.
Yeah.
Garl Glittergold, the reply you get is that when presented with a puzzle, it should not be in your nature to think of ways or reasons to not solve it.
Alright, he's an asshole.
Is that it? We're done with Garl Glittergold?
So I can tell you that I would have been even more of an asshole. My reply would have been, use the key.
So, Garl Glittergold is a particular kind of asshole. Is anything else happening on this day other than Seeker messing with the door? Are you guys going back to the place for dinner, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yes, when I get there, I guess, I have an idea of something to try, Seeker.
Yeah, you can, let's talk about it over around dinner, because I'm going to want Alex's help on opening it up.
Right.
Okay. Is everybody going back there for dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of the same experience as you had the other night when you were there, except partway through your meal, King Zeros comes over to your table. Just small talk for a few moments. Make sure everything is to your liking.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as far as I can tell, Florian had neither a master nor family. I don't think anyone here is surprised.
Mm-hmm.
You were his friend.
None that he is. None that he,
Yeah, that's what Seeker says.
left.
I thought we were his family.
None that he left to find anyway, I would suppose.
Just so you don't like waste any time looking for my relatives, if I like die and become unrecoverable, like I don't have any. You guys are it. So just like, take my body to my favorite tap house and burn the building down. That's what I want done, Alex.
If we're your family, why do you never clean your room?
He did get rid of that dumb boat.
Hey, that boat came in handy
That boat got peed in a lot, is my recollection.
once. I suppose getting peed in more than once, more than 0 times is technically a lot, but...
So what's next?
I want to hear Gus's idea.
Okay, how long do you have? So we're assuming. I'm assuming that you're going to want Alex to try and disarm the lock.
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to disarm the magic. Alex is going to disarm the lock. We're going to use the key, and then we're going to see what the hell is going on the other side there.
Well, we don't have the key.
I thought we had the key.
Nope.
Then yeah, Alex is going to disarm the lock.
Yeah.
Tom Wolf had a key down in the basement.
Okay, yeah, then Alex is going to disarm the lock.
Okay.
So, how long until the magic re-engages itself?
We're going to find out.
Okay.
Tom told you it would take a few minutes. It's actually variable, and he's not sure why it's variable.
Because here's my suspicion, right? Is that disarming the lock is the key.
I'm sorry. Run that by me again?
If you're a high-level artificer who knows how to create locks and that sort of thing, Why bother making a key at all that anybody can use to open your door?
Right. So you think there's no key?
Right.
You just
There's
think
definitely a
it's-
keyhole. It's just
You think he just
bizarrely
pick-
shaped.
He just picks the lock every time?
And Seeker shrugs. He says, "The guy has a puzzle in order to open his front door."
You know what? That sounds like
Yeah.
something Alex would do. So yeah, sounds.
I mean, I would. Yeah, no, I would totally build a lock that didn't have a key. Why would I need it?
Right.
So that's just a security flaw.
Wow. I suppose it is.
Because it could be stolen from me. It could be lifted off my person and a piece of wax pressed against it to make a copy. Yeah, no key. Key is simply a security flaw waiting to happen.
One way to look at it, I suppose.
This is what happens when you have two gnomes in the party.
Right. So after dinner, you guys are going to go back and try to open the door?
Yeah.
Okay. Alex.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a task that anybody's going to be able to assist you with.
Yep.
Because it's going to be just you and your tools, and tools from the basement and whatnot. Go ahead and give me a... I'll let you decide your approach. Are we going to use dexterity thieves tools or intelligence thieves tools?
I think given the nature of the lock, I would prefer to use intelligence thieves tools.
Okay.
I prefer to spend my time setting up my tools in such a position that I think I just need to kind of get everything in place and then just have to turn something rather than trying to deftly move all the tumblers at once.
Okay. I got to make a random roll here. All right. The magic will be suppressed for 4 rounds, long enough for you to make 4 checks.
Mm-hmm.
You need 3 successes. The DC is 20.
Give me 1 second here to look at something.
What's your plus?
So
on the
no
scale?
one else can help me, but what if I were to help myself with Fox's Cunning?
If you have a feature or a spell that grants yourself advantage,
Yeah.
but you're not able to take the help action on yourself.
Yeah.
You can use whatever other, like you can use
Okay.
one of.
What's your
secret
plus on the
rolls.
spell? On the scale.
+8, and then I can throw another +5 on each of these.
Okay, great.
So yeah,
So yeah, I'll cast Fox's Cunning. I'll whip up a particularly potent alchemical cigarette, take a very long drag off it, and be smoking as I work.
okay.
First check is a 27.
Okay.
What did you say the DC was?
20.
20.
Okay. Second check is a 22.
Okay.
Yeah, 22. And third check is 24.
Reroll that 16.
Sure. Can I use the 8 at that point?
Yes, you can.
So that's a 16, which becomes a 21.
So you're getting into this lock. And part of picking any lock is feeling with your hands, like the resistance and the tumblers, and kind of getting a feel for the maze of the inside mechanics of it. But you also realize the design of the lock was made by a master artificer. There are traps and dead ends. There are snares to grab your lockpicks inside. You feel tapping on the inside. You feel the tapping of little glass cylinders. So you realize that if you move the tumblers in the wrong way, the cylinders will snap shut, crushing this glass and making the lock unpickable and unopenable. And at one point, you think you have a pretty good measure of it, and you're getting there. You realize you probably only have a few seconds. And for absolutely no reason at all, you suddenly just twist both of your hands violently in this lock, holding a lockpick in one hand and a probe in the other. And you don't know why you did it. There was some compulsion, some like muscle spasm that come over you. You regain your composure. and you manage to move the last tumbler in place. The rest of you are watching this. Tom Wolf is standing there with his hands clasped together, watching very intently. And you hear the last tumbler open, and the lock disengages. And the door, once again, it opens in this spiral pattern of metal panels that swivels out of the way. And you can look up into the dark room beyond.
Lucius, you're up.
Yeah, and what I see with my special dark vision.
From down here at the base of the stairs, or are you climbing up into the room?
I guess I'll try climbing up the stairs.
Okay.
I'll come
I'll
behind you.
stop you before you make it up to the first stair, and I'll slip a ring under your finger. That's a what's that spell called? Whatever they call. Blanking on the spell name.
What does it do?
Warding bond. That's a warding bond.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm cool with that.
Okay. Lucius, you can see in magical darkness, right?
Yep.
That's good, because the room is enveloped. As Seeker was saying, there's a weird dampening aura in the room. So you have difficulty seeing in here, but you're also the only one who can. There is just magical darkness settled in the room. And everything below you now feels very far away as far as listening. It's like stepping into a cloud that suppresses your senses. But you get a layout of the room. It's a small attic quarters, so only about half the size of the rest of the house. Tucked up in one corner, you see a very messily arranged 4-post bed with the curtains pulled open. One of the curtains is tied off in a loop along one of the posts. The other one you see is just completely knotted up on a loop on the wall. This just tells you this guy never makes his bed, ever.
Oh, so it's all messy and stuff.
Yeah, and there's a wardrobe that's opened, and things just kind of strewn everywhere. There is a messily arranged writing desk, and on the opposite side is another workshop. This one is smaller than the rest, and more disorganized than the rest that you've seen. Laying on a small end table just next to the bed is a small book and an inkwell and a pair of quills.
Lucius picks up that book, calls down to the others, says, "I'm coming back down. I found maybe a journal or something."
Look to see if there's any sort of release that prevents the door from closing behind you.
Well, as you take a step forward, Lucius, you hear a creaking sound as you step on the floorboard. The rest of you downstairs hear a booming voice that calls out, "Floorboard!" That just echoes through the whole house.
Excellent.
You didn't hear that upstairs, but it's squeaking underfoot. You can hear the squeaking very clearly, even through this dampening effect.
Yeah, I'll go over to that end table, pick up the journal, and then come back down the stairs.
And the rest of you hear,
When it becomes
in rapid succession, "Floorboard! Floorboard!" over and over and over again. And eventually Lucius comes back down the spiral staircase, holding a journal in his hand.
Hey, Lucius, are there floorboards up there?
Yeah, they were kind of creaky.
Get out.
Tom, what the hell?
I'll hand the.
Tom thinks this is hilarious.
I'll hand the book over to Alexander. Say,
Okay.
This is on the end table.
I mean, I'll pick it up and start skimming it.
Looking through the
Machinery
book-
and other kinds of stuff.
The pages are very worn, and you see where they're well scratched, but they're completely blank. No ink.
What if I light a lantern that reveals invisible things?
Do you do that?
Yes, I do that.
Invisible ink appears.
Literally invisible.
And it's...
Excellent.
Hold on, I have to mark off the lamp oil.
I'm never going to make fun of you for being over-prepared ever again, Alex.
It's like Just
Where you can
Artificer
hear.
things.
Where you can hear.
All right, now I skim the book.
Okay, and it's written in a cipher.
Tom, do you know any ciphers he used in the past?
He says that he stumbled upon one of his formula books once that he was not allowed to have as an apprentice that had ciphers in it that he'd never decrypted. He also doesn't know where that formula book is kept. But yes, he was taught several different ciphers over the years as part of his job during his apprenticeship was to take notes in a particular way.
Ask if it's any of the ones he's aware of.
He flips through it, and he tells you that it doesn't... he doesn't recognize it offhand, but you and he working together might be able to crack it. He
I
seems,
should take a long drag off his cigarette.
he seems very impressed.
Anything else up there?
No, there's a bunch of stuff, but again, you'd be kind of hard pressed to find anything of use without my eyes. This just seemed like the most relevant thing at the moment.
Take the lantern up and double check.
The lantern.
Invisible and magical darkness?
It won't banish magical darkness, but it would make invisible things visible.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying. That seems just paranoid enough for this guy right now.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
pick up the lantern and take it back upstairs.
Okay.
Floorboard.
Casting the lantern around the room, it doesn't reveal anything invisible. You hear the squeaking as you move around. So yeah, you just got the 4-post bed, and then there's an end table next to it where you got the journal. There's a wardrobe that's open with stuff kind of strewn around, and then there's a writing desk, and then opposite the writing desk is the workshop.
So, Tom, this is your master's bedroom, right? Did he not know that?
His private quarters.
Did he say that previously? I feel like
Did
I
who
feel
say
like
that?
he didn't. Tom Wolfe. Did he tell us that was what was behind there?
Oh yes, because the second
Okay.
floor had guest quarters that Tom has converted into his own.
Okay. All right.
The first floor is the shop, and then you went down 2 levels to the basement.
All right. Okay, I retract my paranoid thought.
The first page of the journal is in the first cipher that Tom ever learned, and it just says, "Apprentice, do not read my journal."
Right. Lucius, doing anything else up in this room?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I mean, I'll report back what I found, but it didn't really see anything. Nothing really jumped out at me.
When Lucius describes the room, he's describing a much messier chamber than you guys have seen throughout the rest of the place. A lot of it's very cramped and very cluttered with things, just because he does a lot of work in small spaces. But this is the only room that you've seen that seems disorganized at all. Or, let's say, creatively organized. He probably knows where all of his stuff is.
I think it might be worth taking a longer look in there, just all of us. I think I'm going to try to dispel the darkness effect.
Okay.
Okay.
What level Dispel Magic are you casting?
I'm going to cast it as a 3rd level spell.
Okay. You're not able to dispel the magic, but you're able to suppress it for... make a spellcasting ability check.
Okay.
Go ahead and
That
take a
is-
look.
Okay. That is a 17.
17. You can suppress the darkness up here for 7 hours, after which point it will return.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. And I'm going to just do a thorough investigation, like checking all the drawers, trying to find some way to turn the darkness effect off, because it's possible that he has some kind of switch somewhere.
You find several mechanical contraptions built into the walls that look like little puzzle devices. One near the bed, one in the center of the room underneath a loose floorboard that you found under a discarded pair of pantaloons, and several more over by the workshop.
Alright, then yeah, I'm gonna mess around with those.
Let's just get a general party. Let's call it just straight intelligence. We'll have one person make the check for the whole party. They can make it at advantage because I'm assuming everybody's going in here and trying to escape room this nonsense.
All right. I'm going to take this one, guys,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
I am going to roll a 19.
Okay.
So that is a 24 for the party.
So you find devices in the walls, and each one is its own little unique contraption that controls some of the magic in the room. One that controls the darkness effect, one that controls the silence effect, one that controls the alarm system on the floorboards, one that causes the glass panes of the windows to become opaque or transparent, and one that you kind of find various settings for, but doesn't seem to do anything.
All right. That sounds worthy of some inquiry tomorrow, but let's, well, I mean, I'm just going to turn the darkness back on and go to bed.
You're sleeping in here?
Yeah, the place seems great.
What's everybody else doing in this room?
Not sleeping in there.
I'm going to pick Seeker up and carry him out of the room because that's incredibly disrespectful. Also, he might die.
I solved all of his puzzles. The dude will give me a high five when he comes back.
Well, you have to go downstairs to where his arms are.
Yeah, I just write on his arm, solved your puzzle. 5.
He flips you off. Anybody else doing anything in this room before we're calling it a night?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
All right, but take the benefits of a long rest. Alex, roll a d20, as always.
Say 4.
Very good.
Oh, it's not bad.
Seeker. You're the first one to wake up the next morning. And you wake up because 2 parts of the bedposts have detached from the bedposts. And these like claw-like structures have reached down. And they are violently scratching at the bed just beneath your feet.
And I shout, I'm awake, I'm awake.
And the bed continues doing whatever it does. It's like reaching down with these metal... they've got rubber grips on the end,
Yeah.
but the hands themselves are metal and built into the bedposts that they're bent down from. And they're just grabbing up handfuls of the linens of the bed and like trying to pull them away from you.
I'll get out of bed.
And they just continue doing this. Even after you stand up. And after you stand up and... roll a d4. Because
Okay.
you said you played with the contraption, but you didn't actually know what it did.
Yep,
Just roll a d4.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
That's a 3.
Okay. So yeah, you wake up before anybody else. From this side of the door, it's just a simple handle motion. But once you open the door and go down and it shuts, you're going to have to do the whole rigmarole to get back in here.
We have a way to wedge the door.
I mean, first I'm going to investigate that lever. I was going to try to follow the magic today.
Okay.
I just wanted to get my spells back.
What do you mean follow the magic?
Essentially try to do detect magic to like see if there's any kind of like aura connecting it to anything in particular. And then after that, try to start casting spells, trying to determine what effects it's having a effect
Tracing magic like that's going to be very difficult in this room because there's lead paneling on the inside of all the walls. And as you start this process, a small panel opens just above the end table of the wall, and another mechanical arm reaches out, and it's holding a kettle, and it just upends over the end table. Nothing comes out, it's empty, for a few seconds, and then retreats back into the panel, and a second panel opens, and a sugar bowl pops out. This kind of stuff happens the entire morning.
Awesome.
I'm reminded.
Seeker's
of the
having a
opening
really
scene
good
of Back
morning.
I'm reminded of the opening scene of Back to the Future.
Okay?
Pee-wee's Great Adventure.
Seeker, make me a intelligence check.
Okay. That is a 11.
Despite your best efforts, you're not able to find out what the last panel does. Presumably it controls some nature of this room, but you can't figure it out.
Alright.
And what's the plan for today? Kenziro's told you to give him 2 days to go over some stuff on his end.
Yep.
Alex has spread out a bunch of parchments and has the lantern mounted above him with Scrappy and is working on the cipher.
Okay. Go ahead and give me... We just call this straight intelligence, and you can make this at advantage because Tom Wolf is working with you.
Okay. That is a 25.
25. Working throughout the morning, it's not a very simple cipher, but once you get the hang of it, it's relatively easy to convert. It's not just a substitution cipher. It runs you through some algorithms that you recognize as having alchemical significance. Knowing the difference between an acid and an alkaline is very useful to cracking this cipher. And it is a book of really, really bad poetry. Written presumably by Mad Metal, pining after, like, speaking a lot about unrequited love and fluttering eyelashes and butterflies and just a lot of just gag-inducing material. And as you figure out the cipher, you realize that this poetry is being directed towards Geraldine Stormling.
Am I sure the poetry isn't a second-level cipher for alchemical processes?
You worked that angle for a little while, and no, you're pretty sure this guy is just a terrible poet.
Okay.
Who's Geraldine?
Anyone?
She is the other major artificer or weaponsmith or whatever in this city, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Or at least the most important other one, and she's a human who's lived for way too long.
Tom
Right,
referred
okay,
to
so
her
she's
as a
the one that
clockwork
left,
wizard.
gotcha.
She's the one that went north.
Yeah, and she got, I would guess the Silver Wolves made some kind of deal. Ooh, actually, I'm going to use my Sending Stone, and I'm going to ask my contact in the King's Administration if there are any outstanding deals for them to provide support for the war effort, and any details they can give me of those.
Probably nothing that can be summarized over a single sending. You'd have to ask something way more specific.
So my sending will be investigating Geraldine, what's her name?
Mm-hmm.
Contributing to Northern War. What outstanding contract terms does she have with Dunfoss right now? Reply 25 words or less.
Okay. Your contact gets back to you within an hour or two that they'll look into it.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything for this morning before we start awarding some blips and things?
I have something if you share that journal with the rest of the class.
Yeah.
Seeker goes back down to the arm and writes again, "Where are you?" And then after it starts pulling away, he writes out the first few words of one of those poems and then asks the question again.
And there's no sense of recognition at all from the arm.
Huh.
How sure are we that this is your teacher's arms? Like, does he have tattoos or any like noticeable scars or whatever?
They look like the arms of a 50 or 60-year-old human male. And he has no reason to believe that they're not his arms.
Okay. Have you tried tickling them?
He has tried tickling them, yes. He's tried tickling, he's tried mild burning, he's tried using healing magic. He's tried everything short of, like, actually carving into them and anything that would cause lasting permanent scarring or damage.
Too bad we can't, like, there's not, like, a divination spell that can, like, I don't know. Do you take an object and then use that object to find a related object?
I mean, there are, but I'm actually just gonna cast Locate Person. Are those his arms?
So the locate person, you specify a person, and the spell just kind of pings where they are. Yes.
Uh-huh.
That the idea?
But they have to be within,
Locate creature, you mean?
yeah, locate creature,
Okay.
or find... When's that? Let me get the actual wording of it.
Yeah, I'm looking it up, and it locates the creature right here because these are his arms.
Yeah, and
This is him.
I nod at Gus and I say, that's definitely his arms.
And Tom Wolfe has, of course, already done this as well.
Does it like ping twice?
No, it
Did you
takes
get,
like 0.015 times.
So we'll leave it there for this week with the puzzle of this man's arms and his terrible, terrible poetry. And you might have finally, after what is it, 50 sessions? How deep are we, Treble?
This is not 50 sessions deep. This is... Give me 1 second, I will tell you. This is like 39, I think.
Okay. Well, 39, you might have finally met an NPC elf that's not a complete jackass.
50 Sessions Deep is the sequel erotica to 50 Shades of Sand.
No, Nodal.
Okay, so
He did it. Can't stop him.
I'm going to go dark for 2 seconds while I go
This is
see what my dogs are barking about. When you guys think about some blips, I'll be right back.
the 35th session.
Who's the most creative today?
I don't know.
I thought that heist plan was pretty good. We didn't use it, but
No, listen. I'm gonna put myself there because let's just ask him. Let's just ask.
That is pretty
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. For this group, yes, that's very
I don't
creative.
approve of it, but I'll put my vote in for that.
Let's just ask for once.
Yep, Lucius was very much on the same. I was about to say it before you did, honestly. Let's just be straight up with this guy. Come on.
It doesn't have. We don't have to have some Machiavellian scheme every time, Seeker.
That's not true.
I mean, have you seen the shit we get into?
I'm glad Connor's on my side.
Oh, I love this
Hope for the
dice
best.
thing.
Hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Okay. Who is the?
It furthered the party's goals the most today.
Not gonna lie, I'm kind of out of it.
Alex got us through the door. How's that?
He did get
Yeah.
us through the door. Yeah. He was a badass today. Who was that was encouraging us to do terrible things? Seeker?
That was
Yeah,
good.
Seeker.
Always.
Yep.
All right, who wants to
Please.
make a case for some blips? I should probably erase last week's blips first. Wouldn't want to give you guys extra blips.
Connor will go first.
Connor, what you got?
All right, flaws. Subtlety and diplomacy are not in my lexicon for interrupting the very serious meeting by once again accusing Choreo of being Fae.
Corio's not in this session.
I know. Ideals, I must warn everyone of the very real dangers of Fae and Fiends and Fae and Undead and Fae and other monsters. For hearing the story about what happened to the staff and the Acolytes and planning in their heads, maybe it was Fae. It sounds kind of suspicious that something just randomly vanishes overnight. Certainly some sort of trickery involved.
Yeah, that's why it's a mystery.
And that's it.
I could go next.
Okay.
I got chaotic good. Good is only taken from those that can afford it. Chaos is taking them for all they're worth. For searching the guy's room for every single thing in it, and then using it to take a nap because I earned it.
You didn't search the room for every single thing in it.
I tossed that room.
You searched very specific places in that room.
We will find more things.
What else you got?
I've got anybody can be fooled except for me for ditching the party to go get a forgery because that first plan was definitely going to fall through. And I've got opportunities everywhere if you can see it for going into a meeting with somebody trying to get a very specific book and coming out of it with a job offer.
So Seeker's giving himself credit for that, yes?
Seeker considers himself the party's rainmaker.
Somebody else talk now, please.
All right, so alignment, lawful, neutral. Always be willing to take your law into the law into your own hands, but no further. For just saying, hey, why don't we just offer to buy the book from him? Let's just try, guys. Ideal, the dead deserve dignity, the living deserve to reap what they sow. We're trying to track down any masters or relatives of Florian. And Flaw, I'm sure we can handle this for sure. Let's just pick the lock on the ridiculous treasure trap puzzle door. Why not?
I can go for Gus.
Okay.
If you're done.
Yeah.
Ideals, my companions are my support structure, and I must do what I can to protect them from themselves. For my suggestion that we should at least make an attempt to find some next of kin for Florian to inform them of his death.
Mm-hmm.
And Flaw, Drunk Gus says hello for getting everybody else to try the incredibly disgusting liquor.
It's pretty bad.
And then the video, and that's it.
It was like a sky blue. All right, who's
Made out
next?
of green milk.
Ugh.
Lucius only has one. I have knowledge is paramount for indulging Connor on his little excursion to the temple area to learn more about history of Blue Wyrm and how the staff might have disappeared.
What did Lucius
Because
learn?
Lucius was legitimately interested in this stuff.
You learned that apparently taxidermy is not a
Yeah,
well-regarded profession in Blue Wyrm.
But clearly not. No, this has like been the thing. This has like been the staff of the Eric staff has been like our holy grail of investigation, and we're finally in a place where we can actually maybe make some inroads on that.
Who had the most creative solution to a problem?
That was Gus for the incredibly creative solution of let's just go ask a guy for a thing. Which with this party counts.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who furthered the party's goals the most?
We gave that to Alex for getting us through the incredibly trapped door.
And who was the badass?
We were finishing up our argument there as we rolled in.
I'm pretty sure I said Seeker for let's steal the thing, because that's clearly what we always do.
So Seeker has the worst ass.
Yep.
I've got the badass. Smallest ass.
And intangibles?
Give that to Connor for his wait, what? You have a map to what?
No, it was pretty funny.
Connor also has the straw poll for this week. So we're level 8, is that correct?
Yep.
So blips are worth 466. And everybody's rolling these over. Alex has 4, Connor has 4, Gus has 4, Lucius has 1, Seeker has 4. And next week we will see if you actually made friends with an elf, which might be a first across all my campaigns. I feel like I have this thing where I just make all the elves awful.
Elves are awful. That's just the way elves
Well,
are.
I mean, we've all played Suikoden, right? Yeah, elves are awful.
Pretty awful. Well, Kirkus is also the lowly star.
That's just rude.